Hi, it's Alaska Granny. As preppers, we know that we want to have a nice supply of food on hand so that no matter what the day brings, we're still able to feed our families, make meals, keep the day normal. Lifestyle insurance is what prepping is, so that you can continue to have your normal everyday life day to day, going along just as usual, no matter what the crisis is. There's always going to be things that challenges and struggles that we need to overcome. So making the day-to-day routine of your life go as smoothly as possible helps smooth the way so that whatever those challenges are, those struggles and the things that we have to face in emergency situations, we're able to deal with that because we know that we still can keep our family fed. We still have enough toothpaste. We still have a roof over our head. We've made sure that we have just the basics. So let's look at today about stacking the staples, the basic ingredients that you might want to use so that you can continue to make food for your family. In immediate emergency situations, we may want those grab and go open and eat foods that require no cooking at all. And then in some sort of challenging times, we want some food that we can open a few cans and packages and do a little cooking and get food on the table. But there could be some longer term emergencies or just some struggles when we're, say, even at home and the weather is bad and we just can't get out to the store, that you want to have the staples on hand so that if you need to bake something, make some just basic foods like bread or cookies, you can do that. So let's look at how we can have those basic supplies in a shelf-stable form. We want to stock up on foods like flour, but flour doesn't last for very long. It tends to go stale. So something I've done is look online and I purchased some flour from the LDS or the Mormon Church that's already packed in a number 10 can. It's sealed up for 30 years. I can open it whenever I need it, and I'm going to have some fresh flour on hand. The Mormons have a long history of food storage dating back to when they first moved to Utah in the 1800s because there were shortages, so that became part of their religion, was being prepared. So anyone can order food from the LDS or the Mormon Church. You don't have to be a member. They believe that everyone needs to help provide for themselves and their families. They can face any challenges that come along. So you can order flour and lots of other foods already packed in these number 10 cans. They're the dry single ingredients that can last for decades. When you order foods from the LDS or the Mormon Church, they come in the number 10 can, but you get a box of 6 of the exact same item in the box. And then the shipping is only like $3. So it's a great way to get a lot of basic foods that you can add into your pantry for not a lot of money. Because it comes in a reasonable size package, you don't have to worry about opening gigantic bags, bins, and buckets of food to just replenish what you need in your pantry. So I think it's a fantastic way to have basic foods on hand. Flour is one of those basics that we can use to make bread, cookies, muffins, pancakes, biscuits, all kinds of things. Having flour is one of the first staple ingredients that you might want to make sure you have on hand. Another staple that you might want to stock up on is sugar. Sugar, though, you don't have to do anything to sugar except store it in an airtight container. You need to keep the sugar dry as possible. And so I just buy it and I store it into clean canning jars. You just put on the lid, screw it on tight, never add an oxygen absorber because it will turn into a big hard rock. And you don't vacuum seal it or anything. Just seal it so that it stays dry and airtight and stored in a cool, dark, dry environment, just like all of your other foods. And then occasionally I'll go in and turn them around and shake it over, and I can see that it's still granulated. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly fine. And then when I need sugar, I can go into my stockpile, grab a jar or two, and then put it into my pantry so I have the sugar that I need. Sugar is also a fantastic food to store because you can turn just the granulated sugar into the sugars that you want. For example, you can make powdered sugar out of your regular sugar by putting it into the blender and just allowing the blender to chop it up finer, and you can turn your granulated sugar into powdered sugar. It's that simple, so you don't have to stockpile more kinds of sugar. What if you want brown sugar? It's perfect. You take your white sugar and some molasses, because molasses was originally in the sugar when it was turned into granulated sugar. They removed the molasses part of it. You can then buy a jar of molasses, which can store in your pantry for nearly forever. Then you stir molasses into your granulated sugar and you can turn it into brown sugar. It's simple to do, and then you don't have so many things in your pantry. If you get into what's just actually the basics, you'd be surprised. The more ways you know how to use the things you have, the more things you actually have. So sugar can be very versatile just on its own. Molasses is like honey and maple syrup, and if you store it airtight, cool, dark, and dry, it can last nearly forever. I think of oatmeal as a staple ingredient in my pantry. Not only can you eat it for breakfast, you can turn it into cakes, muffins, cookies. You can also take your oats and turn them into oat milk. So having oatmeal in your pantry can really be versatile, basic food. And I like it that I can also order the oatmeal from the LDS or the Mormon Church. It comes in the number 10 can, boxes of 6 of them, and they're not very expensive. Oats, like other products from the LDS or the Mormon Church, come sealed in a can. They can last for 30 years. You can have these in your stockpile or your prepper pantry, whatever you want to call your extra long-term food storage. And then when you need some, you can go and just open up one of the cans. I have stockpiled many of the foods from the LDS or the Mormon Church, and they've all been top quality. I've been purchasing them and storing them for nearly 20 years, and I've been very pleased with the quality of the products and the convenience of it. Plus, it's foods that you would normally eat. So then you can have it, you can use it, rotate it, and replace it. So you could just store it and put it away and use it whenever, but you could continue to add it into your regular pantry, especially when you don't have time to go to the store and buy a package of oatmeal. You can go into your stockpile and get a can of it and put it into your pantry, and you're ready to go. Then you don't have that struggle of what's for breakfast, or I'm missing a staple ingredient. You will have it on hand. Another staple food that you might want to stock up on would be powdered milk. Now, if you just buy the non-fat dry milk, it can last for 30 years. I don't find it very tasty though, so the milk that I choose to buy as powdered milk that I stock up on is Nido Fortificata. It's a whole milk. It only lasts a few years, but it's very tasty. It tastes like real milk. It's simple to use. It's powdery. You just stir it into water. It doesn't clump up at all. You can add it into recipes that need some milk. It's just very versatile, and so this is a powdered milk that I enjoy having in my pantry, and I use it all the time. I also have some in my stockpile, but because it only lasts for a few years, make sure you don't stock up on more powdered milk, especially of like the Nido Fortificata, than you could use in a few years. You want to just store the amount that you could use, rotate, and replace it. I've never had it go off tasting or spoiled. I've always had great luck with it, and so it's a powdered milk that I continue to recommend because I think it's delicious, it's nutritious, and it's affordable. The price does vary though, just like all these other foods. You have to be watching how much these are because the prices can vary from season to season. I find the Nido Fortificata at Walmart. I also can buy it online at Walmart, or I have ordered it from Amazon. But the price does vary. So if you think it's too expensive when you look at it today, check back in a few days or a few weeks and see if it's available again at a price that you're willing to pay. The next staple that I like to stock up on is butter powder. I buy the Augustin Farms butter powder. It does say that it lasts for 10 years, which that is a long time to have butter in a shelf-stable format that you can keep in your pantry. I'm not sure if it would last longer than that because I try to pay attention to the dates to use, rotate, and replace it. And the butter powder is awesome. It's very powdery and it can be added right into your recipe. And if you want to turn it into like spreadable butter, you just mix it with water. You would add, I think it's twice as much water to the butter powder, and you stir it around and you have some spreadable butter. I think the Augustin Farms butter powder is very tasty, it's convenient, it's simple to use, and it gives me the added convenience of having butter that I can use in my prepper pantry. Something I do with the milk and the butter is I take them out of the container, I store it in a clean canning jar, and I store it in my pantry, and then I have that to use whenever I want, so that once you open the can, you should use it within a year. But I don't store it in the open can. I transfer these two products into clean canning jars so that then I have smaller amounts that I can use. If you're looking for a way to have butter that doesn't require any refrigeration, check out the August Farms butter powder because I think it's very tasty. Another staple food you might want to stock up on is powdered eggs. I buy them from August Farms, and the August Farms products I can buy here in Alaska at Walmart. I've also ordered them online from Walmart and then even on Amazon. The prices vary, so check back and look around. And if you have the products in your store, you can count yourself lucky if you can find the August Farms products in your Walmart store. Because it's just convenient then. When you're shopping, you can pick up a can or two, and then you're adding to your stockpile of foods that can last for the very longest time, and they're very convenient. We don't want to just stock up on beans and rice that'll last a long time. We want things like eggs too. These are dried whole eggs. They also make scrambled eggs, and I stock up on the whole eggs because then I can use them in baking. I don't have to worry about just making scrambled eggs because it's not like you can add a scrambled eggs spicy mix with other ingredients into, say, a recipe if you're making a cake or cookies or brownies or whatever. The scrambled eggs are going to have other ingredients in them that isn't going to be just an egg. That's why I like to have the whole egg, which you could also turn it into scrambled eggs if that's something that you want. So this is something that I recommend for a way to have eggs in your pantry that can last for several years. And if you look on the package, it says the shelf life is 10 years. So it's something to think about. Wouldn't you like to have eggs that could last for 10 years? And then open them and use them whenever you need to. Other basic ingredients to have in your stockpile so that you have your basic baking ingredients are baking powder, baking soda, cornstarch. These are versatile. You can use them for all the different things that you want to bake and cook. So having them on hand helps make sure that you can make the recipes that you want. How can you tell if your baking powder or your baking soda is still good? I'll put a link to videos that I made that tells you how to check those because they do expire. The last critical food item that you want to stockpile to make sure that you can use all of these baking supplies, these basic foods that you want to have on hand, water. All of these are powdered. If you don't have water, you can't use your powdered foods to make anything. Make sure you're stocking up on water. When you go to the store, bring home a 1-gallon bottle every time. Buy a 5-gallon water storage container and fill it up yourself. All you have to do is sanitize the container inside, fill it up yourself, and you have 5 gallons of water that can last quite a long time. The bigger your container, though, the heavier it is because water weighs 8 plus maybe a half a pound per gallon. So don't get a container so big that you can't manage to lift it and move it if you need to. If you're going to get something like a water barrel, decide where you want it to live before you fill it up because they're impossible to move once you do. So make sure you're stocking up on water along with your basic staple foods so that you'll be able to feed your family no matter what the day brings. It's not difficult to have food to feed your family. It just takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of research on what are the foods that you actually use. Those are the foods that you need to store. Let us know in the comments below, are there other basic foods that you think we should stockpile that I haven't mentioned here? There's a whole lot of foods in the world, so there's a wide variety of foods we may want to have on hand. I hope you'll like my video, share it, please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.